Now let's move into World War I. My grandmother, Frances Ann Bodley Maley, went to nursing school up in Chicago. She grew up in Lodemia, which is a little bit northwest of Fairbury, out in the country. She went to nursing school in Chicago, and then she went into World War I as an Army nurse up at Camp Grant. After basic training at Camp Grant, they assigned her to a quickly built hospital in the Chicago area, General Hospital number 32. Then she was discharged July 19th of 1919 from the Army. She later became a county nurse, including the county nurse of Livingston County. There's a photo shown here on the right. She was a short lady. Some of you that were older and were in school in the 50s and 60s may remember her as a county nurse. She did different things, including TB testing in the schools. The American Legion Post number 54 in Fairbury is named after a gentleman, John Jodha. He was actually killed in World War I. John J. Jodha was from Fairbury. He was born December 25th in 1894. He was a plumber. Then he was inducted into the Army in 1918. He sailed from New York City to Huntington. He landed at Liverpool, England. He trained in France, and he was in the main engagement he was at was I can't pronounce this correctly, Mihal Offensive, September of 1918. He was killed in action by a high explosive shell, and his last seen in a crowd that was hit by the shell. Here's the family tree of John Jodha. He's shown in the bottom, kind of center. He was the son of Frank Jodha and Elizabeth McCrudden. It's interesting that John Jodha's brother was Donald Jodha, who was more commonly known as Doc Jodha. Some of you may have met him at Fairbury schools in the 60s or 70s. He helped out as an athletic trainer. And then, of course, his wife was Millie Jodha, more commonly known as Mrs. Jodha in the grade schools. Now let's move to World War II. There's a book that has a picture and a bio for all the men from Fairbury, and women, by the way, who served in World War II. Two of the neatest looking photos in that collection. I got here, John Gee was in the Air Force, and I thought he looked pretty cool in his aviator's jacket, along with his special cap and his goggles. Over on the right is a U.S. Navy sailor in his outfit, and that would be John Lorch. Now here's a photo of the old Fairbury City Hall back in 1912, and the crowd is gathered to dedicate the new clock tower that was added on to City Hall in 1912. You may be able to see the library, the Domini Library, behind City Hall to the right over there. There's a little railroad shack there on the railroad tracks, and there's actually a guy standing in the shack watching the dedication.